Imagine losing out on thousands of dollars a month in cash flow and hundreds of thousands of dollars in future equity, potentially millions, just because you screwed up the initial conversation with a storage broker and completely blew your shot to ever work with that person. And by the way, it's not because you didn't have any money. It's not because you didn't have the ability to close, but because it's possible that you made some very common rookie mistakes that instantly kill your credibility. Now, on today's episode, which is the fourth and final part of a series of talks I'm doing on how you can work with brokers and get on-market storage deals, I'm going to expose the top mistakes that people make when they work with brokers, how you can avoid them, and the insider tips and strategies that are going to get you treated like a professional. Now, I want to just do a quick recap because the very first part one of this 4-part series was about building trust and credibility. And to me, that is the bedrock. It is the foundation of all relationship building. Number 2, it's how brokers source deals, what they look for in you as a potential buyer. Episode 3, or the third part, I should say, was about communication and offer strategy. Now, on this final piece, I'm going to talk again about the mistakes, insider tips, and this episode is about making sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot when the opportunity finally shows up. Now, I'm going to walk you through 7 talking points. These are 7 mistakes that you want to make sure you avoid. Do not step into this trap because I see even seasoned investors and storage operators make these mistakes, but a lot of rookies, a lot of first-time storage buyers fall into these mistakes. So the first one is not being prepared, okay? You hopefully have heard me talk at length about the importance of having a buy box, understanding what you are looking for, what are your goals with storage, what type of facilities in terms of the size, in terms of, are you looking for value add? Are you looking, like, what specifically are you looking for? What are your plans when it comes to financing, right? Are you just kind of shooting in the dark and you have no idea? I guarantee you a broker is going to ask you that question. And so you better have a good answer. And I do not want you to fake it till you make it. In fact, it should have been 8 mistakes to avoid, and that would have been one of them. That would have been my first one. Do not fake it till you make it. Be genuine, be authentic. But that's just a bonus that you just got on number 1 here. When it comes to financing, start to establish relationships with particular lenders. Why? Well, aside from the fact that you're building a relationship with them, now when you talk to brokers, you can say, hey, I've been in contact with Live Oak. I've been in contact with XYZ. You already have the pieces of the puzzle. You understand what it's going to take to get you financed. And when they ask you questions, you can confidently respond, okay? One thing I like to share with our Storage Wins coaching clients is making sure that you have a buyer info sheet. What is a buyer info sheet? A buyer info sheet, think of that like your resume, essentially. So are you somebody have you done any real estate in the past? Even if it's your primary residence, like any and all real estate that you've bought, you want to make sure is on there, right? Who have you worked with? What have you done? What's your career path been? What is going to separate you from somebody else? Think of this like a 1-page just bio snapshot on who you are as a person, who you are as a buyer, why storage. I always like to include a picture of myself and my family. I also include some things like hobbies, extracurriculars. Why? Because brokers are people and you want to connect with people. You just want to be yourself and this is who I am. These are the types of things that just by doing this can separate you from the pack, okay? Because a lot of people don't do this. And understand, before I move on to the second mistake, understand that clarity breeds credibility. When you have clarity, you seem more credible, okay? So do not make the mistake of reaching out and just kind of winging the phone call with, it's clear that you haven't thought about what you're looking for, why you're interested in storage. Brokers don't want their time to be wasted. Their time is precious and valuable. And the way that they generate an income, the way they generate revenue is by working with buyers who perform, i.e. close. So understand your buy box, be able to communicate that effectively, have a buyer info sheet. Don't just call and just wing it, okay? Mistake number 2, overthinking and analysis paralysis. I literally just got off of a phone call with a storage broker who's become a friend of mine. Name is Matt Porter. He actually was the broker that sold me my first and third deals in Mississippi. And Matt and I have built a great relationship over the last several years. And it started with an initial conversation. And we actually toured my very first property together when I was doing my on-site due diligence. And I asked him this question. I said, hey, Matt, I'm recording a podcast episode about mistakes people make, I have several things I've already written down. I want to talk about what are some of the things that you've seen. And the first thing Matt told me is, he says, overthinking the deal. I see too many buyers getting stuck in their spreadsheets, wondering about what ifs and this and that, and they never end up pulling the trigger. Now, look, he is not saying, in fact, to his point, he said, don't ever just buy based on pro forma, right? And you're just kind of like going to Vegas and throwing the dice. That's not what you want to do either. But when a deal presents itself, if it looks like a deal, smells like a deal, and you trust your process, then be willing to pull the trigger. Because oftentimes by the time you decide that you want to move forward, that deal's already gone to an action taker, a decision maker, somebody who trusted their process and was willing to put a letter of intent or an offer through. Okay, so do not underwrite just based on pro forma. We want to evaluate these opportunities based on what it's worth, which is determined by the current NOI, the current net operating income. And yes, you do want to look at when you buy it, what are the average of the street rates when you implement your marketing, your systems, and when you implement fee income and all this, what could you get the NOI to? And you might bake in some value there, but you don't want to be buying primarily on pro forma. That is one way to step into a pile of, you know what, make a mistake and then just like lose before you even get started. Okay, so lean on a mentor, lean on a coach or a community for perspective and guidance. In fact, that's one of the things Matt even mentioned to me. When I first got started in this business, I had somebody I could lean on. I asked questions. It helped me unpack what I didn't know or didn't have confidence in myself because of lack of experience. So make sure that you're and shameless plug, a community like Storage Wins, right? Which I'm biased, but I happen to think is the best community if what you're looking to do is buy your first facility. Lean on people that have been there, done that. Lean on a community of people that are going to walk alongside you, pour into you, support you, give you the confidence to take the necessary steps in order to succeed in this business. Mistake number 3 is the disappearing act. Okay, what do I call do not be Houdini. Okay, Houdinis do not win in storage. What do I mean by that? You know how often it is that I hear from brokers, hey, I had a conversation with that person. I sent them a deal based on what they told me they were looking for, and then they disappeared. I got ghosted. I never heard back from that person. That is one of the quickest ways to burn a bridge, light it on fire before you even step on that bridge. So these people are taking their precious time, which is scarce. We only get 24 hours in a day, to have a conversation with you, to then feel disrespected because like they send you opportunities, they send you deals, and you don't even give them a common courtesy of just reaching out to them and saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks, and here's why, or this is not for me, or whatever. Okay, so make sure that when you have conversations, you follow up and you focus on the relationship. You lead by contributing value. Even a very short, thoughtful email or text message or video text, which I love to do. Why? Because most people don't do that. So these are little separators that might not seem like they do a lot, but they move the needle over time. Okay, so whenever I have a conversation with a broker, I love to just grab my phones. Why? Because I want them to now associate my face with the voice. And again, it's something most people don't do. Hey, Mr. Broker, it was great connecting with you. I really look forward to building a long-term relationship with you. Thank you for your time. I'll take a look at whatever you send me. I promise to get back to you. If you want to, I don't know if you want to lock yourself into saying within 24 hours, because if you say you're going to do something, you better be sure you're going to follow through and do it. But you get the point. Like, these are little thoughtful things. And by the way, sometimes I reach out to brokers. I don't even ask them about storage or about a deal. I just check in on them. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I like to follow them on social. Why? So that I see what's going on in their life, if they're the type of person that's willing to share those things. Or I see, hey, I saw you got this deal in California. That's not part of my buy box, but you know what? I have some people that are interested in California. I actually sent them your OM and your email. I hope that's cool. Little things like that can go a very long way. So mistake number 3, again, do not be the Houdini. Don't pull a disappearing act, especially after the first contact. Number 4, focusing only on price. This is a mistake a lot of people make. In fact, I was leading and facilitating our Storage Wins group coaching call, which is something we do on a weekly basis where we dive deep into our 3 pillars of how to find deals, how to fund deals, and then how to finish and win. And I was we were looking at a deal that was presented by a broker, and then somebody dropped in the comment, like, hey, I wouldn't even bother with that because it's overpriced. And I kind of stopped the call there, and I brought their voice into the conversation, and I said, hey, listen, how do you know they're not willing to take less? And I could tell his wheels started turning, and I said, look, one of the mistakes people make is that they only focus on price, thinking that it's all about the price, where what you need to do is pick up the phone, have a conversation with the broker, and see if you can find out. Sometimes poking and probing and asking questions can reveal a lot of information. Now, am I saying that brokers are going to always tell you the seller's motivation, why they're selling? No, I'm not saying that. And I'm saying I've gotten some valuable information just by building a relationship with the broker and asking some key questions, poking and probing a little bit in a way that it doesn't feel like an interrogation for the broker. And it's not always about price. Sometimes I like to put the ball in the broker's court and say, hey, listen, Mr. Broker, I understand you guys are at 1.3. I've underwritten this deal. I like the deal. By the way, I'm going to circle back to what I just said right now. I like the deal. Okay. So I'm foreshadowing on one of the mistakes. I like the deal. I like the market. Here are some of the concerns I have. Here's how I arrived at my number. Or I might say, like, I'm coming in a lot less than what you guys are asking, and I can walk you through how I got there. But before I even do that, would it even make sense for me to put my offer in writing if I can't be in the ballpark of what you guys are looking at? Many times I hear yes. Sometimes I'll hear, oh, well, what were you thinking? And then now I can walk them through, well, listen, this is how I arrived at this price. These are some of the concerns I have. These are some of the questions. And even if they don't agree, now you've done something most people aren't willing to do, in that you've explained yourself. You show them that you're credible and serious because you've done your work. And they might not necessarily agree, but they can respect it, especially if you communicate with confidence and just being a friendly voice. Like, don't be arrogant. Don't be a douche. Just golden rule of life. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Pretty simple for me. So don't make the mistake that it's all that thinking that it's all about the price, because it could be terms. It could be timeline. Position yourself as somebody, the easy buyer, somebody who's going to be easy to work with, because I have purchased numerous deals where I know for a fact I wasn't the first, second, or third highest price. Why? But it was about something else, and I gave him that certainty. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Mistake number 5, overpromising and over-delivering. Now, this is not the single family. I wouldn't be talking in terms of, hey, I can close fast and I can pay cash and I leave all that like in the single family space. I don't use that language. And again, I would rather. Now, some might say, hey, how about overpromise and overdeliver? If I was going to tell you to scale that back a little bit, I would say definitely do not overpromise and underdeliver. Maybe underpromise and overdeliver. So find your zone there, but just be transparent with brokers. I think, like, going back to 1A, mistake 1A, the bonus, do not act as if. Brokers are gonna respect certainty over hype. So just be yourself, be transparent. Mistake number 6 is beating up every deal. Now, let me bring my friend Matt Porter back into this conversation because, or I should say into this monologue. Matt was telling me that one of the mistakes that he sees is there's certain buyers that just want to take a baseball bat to every single deal that he presents. And I'm sure there's other brokers out there that I'm certain have experienced this, where the buyer's just constantly trashing the deal and positioning themselves as, oh, this is a crap deal. And it could be an ego thing. Like, look how smart I am. It's just nitpicking, exaggerating flaws, exaggerating the repairs that are needed and the estimated CapEx, what we call CapEx, capital expenditures, right? The work that we're going to do to the facility, especially when it just doesn't make any sense, right? We could be talking about a 5,000 square foot, 2-building facility, and they're talking about $100,000 to replace the roof. Like, just things that don't necessarily make sense. Just don't be the person that beats up the deal. Now, I want to tie this back to what I said about 5, 7, 8 minutes ago, where I said I like the deal. I compliment them on the deal. I'm having a conversation with them, so there's some level of interest. So Why would you go the other way and completely bash the deal and say, yeah, this is not for me? Like, that's overselling. The pendulum now is going so far the other way. So I often say, hey, listen, I'm interested in this deal. You know, these are the things I like about it. On the flip side, like, here are some of the concerns I have. Is it all right if I just kind of walk you through that? I'm not using magic words. I'm just being myself. I'm just communicating very succinctly, directly, clearly, confidently. So don't be that person that wants to pick up a bat and just completely obliterate the deal, because in the process, you're going to be obliterating the relationship over time. Okay, that is number 6. And then last but not least, and this is something I've heard from not just Matt, I've heard from David from Franklin Street, Kristen Assman from SVN, who else? John Lindsay from Lindsay Self-Storage, is mistake number 7, trying to go at it alone. Okay, every broker I've connected with appreciates, and not only appreciates, but values and respects when they are dealing with a first-time storage buyer or a second-time storage buyer who has a community that they can lean on, has coaching, guidance, mentorship. Now, I can already hear like someone cynical thinking to themselves, well, that's very convenient, Alex, because like you're a coach and you have a community, and that's fine if you want to think that. But I can only tell you that not only do I talk this, but I walk it, because when I transitioned into storage after doing single family for 14, almost 15 years, I found a coach, somebody to help me. And why did I do that? Did I have the confidence I could figure storage out on my own? Yes. But why would I when I can just take an elevator up versus like walking all the stairs, being exhausted, risking getting injured, i.e. making a big mistake? So what many brokers have told me that they appreciate are people that have a support system. Why? Because they don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. It gives them confidence. It gives them credibility because they've invested in themselves. They're serious about this. Brokers want to work with people who are serious about this. Why? Because they're not going to waste their time. Okay, so understand that there is so much more value to being part of a community, having the right coach, having a support system, and then sharing that with brokers. So now that I've covered the 7 mistakes, let me now, I've walked you through the don'ts. Let me walk you through some of the do's. Play the long game. Okay, think in terms of relationships, not transactions. I've said this many times. I'll continue to say it in case this is the first, maybe the second time you've heard me. The most important capital you can raise is relationship capital. It is not money. Money can come and go, right? Relationships can be long lasting. Some of my closest friends I've met in this business and in this industry. Okay. Number 2, stay visible, right? Just do a pretty frequent check-in. This could have been a mistake. A mistake is just being the annoying pest. Don't be the annoying pest. Be the welcome guest. I'd say a monthly to 45-day check-in. Mix it up, an email just to follow up with them, a text message, a video, a phone call. Mix it up, but don't be blowing them up every day type thing, right? Because not much changes from day to day or even week to week. But I can tell you countless stories of people that have done this, that have just focused on building the relationship, following up every 30 to 40 to 45 days, and then being top of mind when a broker gets a deal. Number 3, ask smart questions. Don't be the person that calls and says, hey, how many 5x10s do you have? Or, hey, what's the price? Like, don't do that. Why? Because especially if you're working with a broker, that's likely in the OM, the offering memorandum, or it's in the flyer. If it's in one of these small facilities, you know how in Crexi sometimes you'll see a button that says view flyer. Do not ask basic information that you can don't be the lazy person, because that puts you in the group of the tire kickers. They're constantly answering those types of basic questions. Ask questions that matter. Okay. So ask smart questions. The 4th one I would say is, we just talked about this, leverage a community. You know, being a part of Storage Wins, being a part of the right mastermind can significantly boost your credibility. And then lastly, one of my favorites, be a connector. Even if a deal isn't for you, pass it along. Share it with somebody and say, hey, listen, I underwrote this thing. By the way, I'm happy to send you my underwriting. Here's why it didn't work for me, but you might have different goals. You might be interested in this market. And then share that with the broker. You know, sometimes what I'll do is I will forward a deal I'll CC the broker and I'll say, hey, have you guys connected? I wanted to share this deal with you. It doesn't really work for me. Why? That's adding value to the broker. That's adding value to that potential person you're sending a deal to. Now, obviously, don't send them a crap deal. You know what I mean? But if the deal is kind of on, it's a fringe deal, it's on the fence, and maybe it doesn't work for you because of geography, size, or how you need to fund it, it could work for somebody that's in a different situation. So, look, with that being said, hopefully you've enjoyed this, not just this 4-part series on working with brokers and how to get on-market deals, but also the 16 ways I talked about in terms of off-market strategies. So I want to encourage you. Here's the takeaway, the call to action is take what you learn on this podcast, in my videos, and just apply it. And then come back and share with me how it's working. Let me know if you're getting stuck, if we can support you in any way. In order to do that, make sure, by the way, that you're subscribed in YouTube, Apple Podcast, Storage Wins Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other platforms so that you're notified every single week with fresh content. And with that being said, my name's Alex Pardo. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but hopefully if this is your first time joining me and consuming my content, I appreciate you being here. Again, make sure you're subscribed, and I look forward to just walking alongside you and helping you through my experience. And I'm not the person that has every single thing figured out. I make mistakes just like anybody else, but my promise to you is I'll always come here and share not just the wins, but the challenges, the setbacks, the things I've learned. And these are the real conversations that we have inside of our Storage Wins coaching community. So if you want to learn more about that, storagewins.com. And with that being said, I'm looking forward to just connecting with you on the next one. Take care.